Hello, good morning and welcome to Thoughts and Updates. I'm here in bitterly cold Kirkintilloch. It's -1 apparently outside. I can't go very far because of my car. It needs new tyres and it's going to go and get new tyres, and I don't know if you can see it behind me, perhaps not out the back window, outside McDonald's. Not just because they do good coffee, but also because a number of our family are employed by the fast food chains, a couple at McDonald's, one at Burger King, and I am hearing that McDonald's, having had an amazing year with annual profits, are looking to increase the wages of those who are at the lowest level, lowest salary scales, without waiting for the increase in the national living wage, which I think is just exceptional. And it'll make me continue to buy my coffee from there, at least, if not anything else. I won't buy much else at the moment. I'm trying to lose weight, but the coffee is particularly good. And I suppose, in a sense, I'm a bit of a coffee snob. I haven't drunk instant coffee for quite a long time. And what I like about McDonald's is the way in which the coffee is done without any of the nonsense that goes along with it. I do drink good coffee, and I do buy fairly expensive coffee during the course of a month in order to try out and stuff, and I've got a subscription with somewhere called Packed Coffee, which sends me a couple of blends every 60 days to have a go at. So in terms of being a coffee snob, it's not me so much, and I think in a previous one I talked about my problems with ordering espressos, and without going all Rod Gilbert, one of the problems that I have is that I go in and I ask for I drink double espresso. So I'll go in somewhere where it's now espresso comes in two different types, single or double. So I go in and I ask for a double espresso, and somebody goes, "Is that large?" I would have thought that it's not really. You've got two types, one's small, one's big, which, the double is likely to be the double. Or you go in and you ask for a large espresso, and they go, "Is that double?" Well, you've got a single and a double. Have a chat, be a bit radical, go a little, take a chance. And that really does grind my gears. But what I loved about McDonald's was a number of their adverts for coffee, which just debunks the whole kind of hipster, hippie stuff that goes along with it. It's coffee. All I want is coffee. So, also, during the course of this week, what's been in my lugs is a couple of things which I think are really important. First thing is to do The Guardian. I listen to The Guardian every morning in their daily sort of broadcast. And they've been working for a period of time looking at the youth justice system in England. And they spent a month in a youth court in Manchester. Now, at work, I do spend a lot of time working with children and young people from England, and there's a large number of English children in care who are coming up across the border in order to be placed due to the struggles that they have down south in terms of finding them places that they can be safe in. And we do have a kind of a learning curve to go through with these children, not just because they come from England. I think it would be overly nationalist of me to suggest that there was an issue with regards to translation and all the rest of it. That's not the case at all. There is an issue in terms of different legal systems. But no matter how much we think our system in Scotland is broken, in comparison to what's happening down in England and Wales, it would appear that we're in a much better place, which is not really a boast that I feel that we can hold on to. However, I would urge anybody who's interested in children and young people to look at The Guardian's month. There's a podcast which describes quite unbelievable things. A young man who, I'm going to say he's young, he's in his 30s, I think, who's one of the criminal justice lawyers, the youth justice lawyers down in Manchester, who had a caseload, two of which he had no papers, one which he just got, and they were in different courts, and he was saved during the course of a period of time because somebody hadn't turned up. What kind of justice? How do we actually support and help children and young people like that? And of course, at the same time, we have now the change in the age of legal capacity in Scotland, where we've now made it 12, because cognitively we believe that children and young people don't know the difference between wrong and right until they're at least 12 years old, or the consequences of their actions until that time. And therefore, we have brought ourselves closer into line with thinking in terms of how we deal with children and young people. It used to be 8. In England and Wales it's 10, which makes it one of the lowest in the world. And there's now a massive campaign down south in order to make that change, to bring them into line with 12 or maybe even 14. I know that in Germany a few months ago there was an incident of a gang rape where a couple of the kids were under 14 who were the alleged perpetrators, and that led to a discussion about whether or not they should lower it. In Portugal it's 16, Switzerland 15. Across the world it is very, very different. And of course the UN Conventions of the Rights of the Child suggests that a child is a child until 18. In Scotland we make them adults at 16, but we accept the UN Convention that they should be seen as such until 18, as a child. So a lot of kind of stuff going on. The other thing that's been on my ears is a BBC documentary about the Cardiff Three called Shreds. Now, there's a couple of things also on the television I've really enjoyed, which is to do with Northern Ireland and looking back. And one of the things that I enjoy about recent history is the distance it gives us to look back at what has gone wrong. Now, one of the things about Northern Ireland and Bloody Sunday was the apology given by David Cameron as Prime Minister over the actions of the British state. One of the things that's been noticeable about looking back at the Yorkshire Ripper is the way in which the British state, under the auspices of the police, behaved, and how they got it very, very wrong on the way they looked at the victims as being prostitutes when the majority of them were not. One of the ways in which we have looking at the moment at David Duckenfield, who's up for manslaughter, I believe, because he was the commander at the time of Hillsborough, is the way in which the British state, through the auspices of the police, have behaved. How long before we get some sort of investigation into Orgreave, of course, is being asked, not on a daily basis, but it's regularly being asked in terms of the miners' strike. However, Shreds looks at the Cardiff Three. Actually, it's about 5 young black minority ethnic men who were put on trial for a murder that they did not convict. Originally the police were looking for a white guy, and then some point they suddenly decided in Tiger Bay in Wales that they were going to go after these 5 black guys, and they put them on trial and convicted 3 of them. The 3 on appeal were released, and the episode I've just listened to is the episode where they caught the right man for what happened. And again, there are the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the noughties, and now a number of instances of the British state, under the auspices of the army in Northern Ireland, the police, in various instances right throughout the whole of the United Kingdom, getting it wrong and us having to try and address that. And that brings me back, in a sense, to the criminal justice system in England and Wales. Without proper and adequate funding, without support, without something in place in order to help and support and encourage young people to follow a life that is not about the easy criminal activity that they are finding themselves being involved in, what we end up with is mistake after mistake after mistake. And yes, it does end up with institutionalised mistakes, because once you start by doing the wrong thing, it is very difficult, particularly when it comes to large institutions who have invested so much in defending the cuts that they have made, to make changes. And when it comes to waste, the greatest waste is the waste of human effort, not finance. And as we go into a general election on the 12th of December, will we ever get that onto a political agenda? Who's to know? It's certainly the most important general election that we've had for generations. And there will no doubt be more discussions and talks about that in times to come. But enough about the serious. Let's talk the boxing. How? Because, heavens above, overnight, possibly the largest internet event ever happened in Los Angeles, in the Staples Center. Now, boxing purists don't like it. Boxing enthusiasts are getting into it. KSI fought Logan Paul, Billy Joe Saunders defended his title, Devin Haney defended his title, and what happened was a massive, massive audience watched it, bought it, got a DAZN membership or subscription, and they are now going to contribute to boxing in a massive way, we hope. What comes next? Well, we've got some fantastic fights coming. Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury, AJ, Andy Ruiz. The rest of November is going to rack it up towards Christmas, and that's going to hopefully be fantastic for boxing. Not to spoil who won, but the KSI Logan Paul was exactly as some predicted, wild, off the scale, and with a controversial yet settling decision, with plenty that novices, and you have to give these guys credit, they actually produce something that's worth watching. So, all good in the hood. Football, however, not so good in the hood. A 3-1 defeat yesterday to Queen of the South. We just can't beat these guys. Every time Dundee United slip up, or every time somebody else does us some favours against the Inverness Caledonians, who are on our coattails, what do? We don't win. I believe in Mark Kerr. I think it was the right appointment in terms of being, he's a rookie manager, he's come in, he's always wanted to be a manager, he's worked towards his licences and his coaching badges, and I think that we need to stick with a guy, because I think that it's important, particularly in football, that you don't just give up when things go wrong. And I think that that has been shown by keeping hold of certain coaches in a number of football clubs who have managed to either punch above their weight or settle. Now, as far as I'm concerned, in the top 5 of the Championship is Ayr United punching above their weight. We don't have the facilities, we don't have the background, we don't have the finance to compete, in my opinion, in the Premier League. And I think it would just be thump after thump after thump after thump, 4-0 defeats, 6-0 defeats, and so on if we were up in the top flight, because we just don't have the finance to bring the players in that would keep us competitive there. And I know the argument about Livingston and the argument about Ross County and so on, who've managed to cling on, hold on, and Hamilton Academical. But the idea of every week going to watch a relegation battle does entice me. However, maybe this year we'll go up to the Premier League. Maybe this year we'll get into playoffs. I think on that excitement we can build a fan base. But it's not a popular view. Also, this week I wrote for Ringside Report about Herbie Hyde. There's a controversial figure of the 1990s, the heavyweight scene, who was a WBO champion, heavyweight world champion. Not one that's lauded, not one that's applauded, not one that people remember with a great deal of fondness, often because of the conviction that he had to do with drugs that he ended up in prison for. But his son, Henry, is being touted as potentially somebody in the amateurs who could do something in the professional ranks thereafter, though his amateur career seems to be a little bit stop-start. I had done a little bit of a review of Herbie Hyde's career just over a year ago for Ringside Report, and then when I went back to look at it, there wasn't a great deal new in terms of his son. So hopefully that doesn't mean he's packed it in, but it does mean that he's preparing to get into the pro ranks and following his father's footsteps, as many others have done. Conor Benn, Chris Eubank Jr., Steve Collins Jr. and so on. However, with that, I'm going to finish off my coffee, and I am going to get the tyres done on my car. Not a lot in theatre, it's panto time, and those that know me, I'm not a great panto fan, but I'll be looking out to see if there's something alternative out there that I can go and see. But till the next time, it's bye for now.